on the day where we are celebrating, at least for Portugal and the Portuguese-speaking countries, the Children's Day, Dia Internacional da Criança. Of course, the UN now celebrates it also in November, but we still kept the original date of the 1st of June. And we would like to showcase that we are trying to get science closer to the younger generations, trying to get them involved, try them to understand the European project. And I am very, very happy that as Portuguese semester we are doing this, and it's also one of our focus activities. So you will have several panelists today. Sophia is going to chair and moderate the session. We are, of course, also here should you have any kind of questions, etc. And even if you would like to actively contribute, because we are going to speak about what has been done in the recent past, what we are doing maybe today, but we should not also forget the future. So if there are any activities that you would like us to support and try to further develop, because this is just the start, you can count on our collaboration. And so I thank you for being here, and I give the floor to Sophia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ricardo, for opening one more webinar that we have today. Ricardo is one of the presidents of our celebrations of the Portuguese presidency at the JRC. And today it's Children's Day in Portugal and in several other countries. As Portuguese and adult, I still remember very much how special this day was for me. There was always a special treat, a special program, something special. And as a mother of two, I try to perpetuate also the magic of this day, even if it's just in a simple detail that we have today. But of course, as a mother, I think about all the children that don't have the same opportunities as our children have. And that's why we felt, me in particular, but also my colleagues, we felt so much passionate about the two projects that we are going to talk about today. I could introduce it to you, but I think our speakers will do it much better. So we will have today Joana Moscoso from Native Scientists, and we have Mariana Alves and Rafael Galupa from Cartas Consciência. We'll talk more about these two projects, and they brought also some guests that will talk on the first person about their experience with these projects. I will also like to remind you as well that we have a fundraising going on for Cartas. So if you also feel as passionate as us, please contribute. You have the information in our website. And I will give the floor now to Joana.
Thank you very much. Sharing my screen. Can you see the presentation? Yes.
Yes, we can see it.
Cool, thank you. Do you see anything on top of it? Or is it a clear screen?
Yes, it's the full screen, it's okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Sophia, for your introduction. And indeed, we're gonna talk about here Native Scientists, which is a project that focuses on connecting children and scientists across Europe, and especially target migrant children and ethnic minority children, and I'll explain why in a few slides. So, Native Scientist was founded by myself and Tatiana. We were two researchers in London. I was doing my PhD, Tatiana was doing a postdoc, and we created Native Scientists because we had a strong commitment to promoting diversity in science and education, because we believe that everyone should be able to reach their full potential, no matter what their background, and especially their cultural background, was. And we were very sensitive to this topic because we found that there was across Europe some inequalities in education towards migrant children and ethnic minority children. Since the foundation or the creation of Native Scientists, we have gathered 8 years of experience in tackling inequality in education, in celebrating diversity in science and education, in training scientists to do science communication and science outreach, in promoting scientific literacy in children and society, in creating a social impact, and in building bridges between science and society, but also between institutions and local communities. And in these 8 years, we've connected more than 20,000 children with scientists. We have targeted children that are migrant children. And one of the reasons is because in Europe, the statistics show that for science and maths, migrant children are twice as likely to underachieve than non-migrant children. So for some reason, there is some inequality here in the education of migrant children for science and maths. Of course, there's a lot of hypotheses and speculation of why this happens, and many factors can contribute to this underachievement. For example, language barriers, low science capital, socioeconomic status, or issues of prejudice and perception towards heritage cultures, or even lack of adequate support in schools. And we could discuss this later in the round table with our guests that are here. Lourdes from Switzerland. She is the coordinator of Instituto Camões in Switzerland, and also Ana Catarino, who has been with Native Scientists almost from the very beginning, and she can also talk about her experience with Native Scientists. We've been to more than 220 schools in 8 European countries, reaching more than 5,000 migrant children and engaging with more than 1,000 scientists in these 8 years. And we are providing science communication and outreach training for scientists so that scientists can go themselves to talk to these children and deliver an impactful science education and outreach program. We have 2 main programs for these migrant children, and they are both based on 3 key aspects. They have to promote science learning, they are designed to promote language learning, and in this case, we promote the learning of the heritage language or the home language of these children, and promoting the interaction between children and role models, the scientists being the role models. Here are some pictures of our Native Schools program, which targets migrant children between 6 and 12 years old, mainly. And here we take the scientists out of the labs and place them in the schools where they interact in a fun, hands-on, very practical and didactic way with the children. And then we have the Native Explorers program, targeting migrant children when they are teenagers, so a little bit further down their life. And here we take the students out of the school and place them in the labs. So this is a visit to the university or sometimes to a museum where the kids interact with real scientists in their heritage language and learn science while doing so. We have done this with the universities in the UK, Lancaster University and King's College London, We've also done this in two museums in Scotland, and Anna Catarino, one of our guests, has also been behind one of these projects. As scientists who founded Native Scientists, not only we are very careful and concerned about delivering educational programs, science outreach programs that are of high quality, but also we are concerned about making sure that the programs that we are doing create the positive impact that we expect they are creating. So we've collaborated with social scientists from University of Tübingen in Germany and from Lancaster University in the UK, so that they independently assess the effectiveness of our work. And the results are very positive. In the short term, we see that our workshops have a statistically significant positive impact at the level of promoting science intrinsic interest, science attainment value, science self-concept of ability, science future participation, and also with this cohort of Portuguese migrant children, the promotion of the heritage language, specifically the intrinsic interest for Portuguese. In the long term in this study, meaning 4 weeks after our intervention, after our workshops, we also see a positive impact that is statistically significant at the level of promotion of science attainment value and self-concept of ability towards the heritage language, Portuguese in this case. The numbers are great, but the testimonials sometimes speak for themselves as well. And we have students saying things like, well, we have this specific student that said, this workshop was important for me because I didn't know there were people like me in university. I thought university was only for my native colleagues, native friends. And this was a student that was already aged 15 years old. So the level of awareness about what future and what potential she could reach was not high, and was not accounting for the reality that it could be. And then we also have this testimonial, in this case it's from a teacher in London, that said that in the very first workshops he organized with us, a few parents said they didn't want their child to participate in the Native Scientist workshop. I don't want my son or daughter to meet the scientists. 3 years later, however, the same teachers told us, I now have parents wanting to register their kids in my Portuguese class, Portuguese as a heritage language, because they know the scientists are coming. So we saw in London, in this neighborhood in specific, a complete change of attitude in the parents, even though our intervention, our workshops are not for parents, they are for their children. We saw a change in attitudes towards science and scientists in the community, which is also a good story. One of the key elements of our work is that our work is people-centered. Our core goal is to allow students, children, to make meaningful connections with science. And in the process, they learn science. Most science outreach programs, however, are more content-centered. I want to teach children about space, or I want to teach children about X, Y, and Z. And sometimes the humanity side or the human side of it, it's not present and may not allow for such a deep and meaningful connection with science. And I think this is one of the key aspects of the project that makes it successful for all intervenients, for scientists, for students, and for teachers. Our work has been recognized, and this has also fueled us to keep going, because most of the work so far has been done on a voluntary basis. And we have received prizes from MIT, from Euclid Network, and especially also here the project Cartas Consciência, which will be presented just after my talk, and Imperial College, and even some other institutions in the UK. And we've also been featured in international journals, including Nature Careers. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer your questions later on during the roundtable.
Thank you, Joanna. Thank you so much. It's really inspiring project, and there is a lot of information that we probably didn't know about the scientists. And I forgot to mention, I wanted to mention that both Joanna and Mariana, they were elected on the top women with social empowerment, and we were very proud that we have you here both to give your testimony. So also this type of reference, I think it's very useful for the students also. So let's move now to Mariana and hear a bit about the project of Cartas Consciência.
Thank you so much, Sophia. I will share my screen. You can see the presentation? Yes? Okay, so I will present and Raphael will present as well. I will pass the word to him at some point. So what if scientists and pupils exchange letters during a school year? This is what we want to do, and we do at Cartas Consciência, literally translated to English as Letters with Science. We create and implement personalized and lasting conversations between scientists and pupils. Studies show that students from low socioeconomic background are less likely to enter higher education and science courses, and without interventions that bring children from underprivileged communities closer to science and scientists, many are automatically excluded from the economic and life opportunities that scientific careers offer. On the other hand, these students usually see scientists as inaccessible. Although science is present in the media, students do not know any scientist personally and consequently do not see themselves in that role. Studies show that the most important aspect for students to develop positive attitudes towards science is their sense of belonging, which is children feeling recognized by others as connected to science, that their ideas and opinions are valued, and that they can belong to the scientific community. In other words, it is necessary to help children to feel like potential scientists and help them create a scientific identity. One way to do this is to give these children examples of people who have become scientists and with whom they can identify. This is what Cartas Consciência wants to do, giving them real-life examples of scientists. And in these pictures, you see two of many of our scientist pen pals, Anna and Ivo, who are with us for the panel today. Through letter exchanges programs between scientists and pupils during a school year, we aim to promote one-to-one, long-lasting written conversations that contribute to mitigate barriers and prejudices associated with higher education, scientific careers, and while promoting scientific and language literacy. In other words, to inspire children from unprivileged communities for the value of knowledge and education. Launched on the first World Day of Portuguese language, Cartas Consciência was inspired by the American project Letters to a Pre-Scientist, where we saw the idea of scientists and students exchanging letters in the Portuguese-speaking world as an opportunity to democratize science and education, creating a multi-continent science communication and diplomacy project. We focus our work in 4 axes, and I have already mentioned to you some of the contexts regarding science and regarding education. For many children, Portuguese is not their mother tongue, but it is the language spoken at school, which allows them to access not only education, but all official institutions, representing an added value in the access to opportunities and for cooperation between people and communities. We also want, through our communication channels, to promote in society a demystification of prejudices usually associated with science and diversity. So in a year, almost 100 scientists have exchanged letters with students in 4 classes in 3 continents. These were in São Tomé e Príncipe, East Timor, and Portugal, including Ana and Ivo, who will speak at the panel today. And for 89% of these pupils, it was the first time they met a scientist. And for more than half, it was the first time they wrote or received a letter. And scientists describe the experience of exchanging letters as rewarding and fun. And today you have the amazing opportunity to ask Ana and Ivo all about their experiences. Here you can see a photograph of letters going from Timor to Portugal by plane with a carrier. And here you can see a photograph of students from São Tomé e Príncipe preparing their letters. I will now pass the word to Rafael.
Thank you, Mariana, and good afternoon, good morning, good night to everyone, depending on where you are in the world. I will now show you a little bit of how we're moving forward. And so this month we have a class starting to exchange letters in Mozambique, a group of girls in a partnership with the Girl Move Foundation. And in September this year, we plan to have new classes in Cabo Verde, Guinea-Bissau, Angola, São Tomé, mainland Portugal, with a group of students from migrant and refugee families, and also in the Azores. And so we hope, when possible, to reach Brazil and Equatorial Guinea as well, as our goal for the first 3 years is to reach each of the 9 Portuguese-speaking countries by organizing at least 1 letter exchange program in each of these countries. So our programs are long-lasting, as Mariana mentioned. So children exchange letters with the scientists during 1 school year, and each child exchanges letters with their own scientist. So this is a personalized conversation that is focused on the human interaction. That is focused on the human interaction. It's not content focused like Joanna described before. For native scientists. So we take a very similar approach. These pairs of scientists and children are created taking into account the interests of the students, not only science related, but also their hobbies. That's how we match each child to their own scientist. And so through the Portuguese language, which is spoken by more than 250 million people around the world, we gather and promote exchanges between several nationalities and countries. We also include all scientific areas, including social sciences and humanities, and we give training to our scientists. In this first year of Cartas Consciência, about 500 scientists have completed our training in outreach and letter writing techniques to be able to be eligible to exchange letters with our students. So we give preference to students from underserved backgrounds that have little or no access to science-related initiatives, and as Mariana showed before, almost 90% of our pupils meet a scientist for the first time via our program. We also evaluate the impact, or we're trying to set up studies and partnerships to evaluate the impact of our initiative. So we're doing this through research collaboration. It's something we take very seriously and to heart. And so we've established 2 impact evaluation partnerships with science education researchers and also science communication researchers in Portugal at the moment, but we are looking for colleagues from other Portuguese-speaking countries that could join the endeavor, which would, of course, help us to inform the analysis and the studies, having in consideration the various contexts and realities in all these different countries we operate in. And so I will pass the word back to Mariana.
Thank you so much, Rafael. So we want to help democratize science and education across 4 continents. And with this ambition as large as the number of Portuguese speakers, as a journalist Ana Gomes recently from our radio diffusion Portugal Africa branch said recently in an interview about us, we have recently enlarged our team with several volunteers from various Portuguese-speaking countries, and together we want to promote the reduction of inequalities through the cooperation of Portuguese-speaking scientists, teachers, and students. And here you can see some quotes from the last letter from a pupil from East Timor to her scientist in her scientist pen pal in Mozambique. She says, I loved it very much to read your letter. You inspire me in several things. I was very happy to meet you and learn about your studies. I would like to finally thank the organizers of the semester for this kind invitation, also for setting up the fundraiser for us. We would like to thank all the people and institutions that support and participate in Cartas Consciência. We would like to tell you that you can meet us again this month at the Excite conference, also with native scientists in a panel about reaching vulnerable communities with innovative science communication, or also you can see a presentation about cartas in Portuguese in the next Portuguese Science Communication Conference. But meanwhile, we would like to invite you to share Cartas Consciência with your network of contacts and invite them to sign up as scientists. If you know an institution interested in sponsoring the project, being our patron or partner, please contact us. And we will leave these links in the chat in a bit. And also, don't forget to think about your questions and ask your questions in the Q&A for Ana and Ivo to hear all about their experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mariana and Rafael. The beauty of these projects is that science, it's not only the final aim, it's also the vehicle, because I see that it's a way of inspiring the children to have more confidence. And maybe some of these children will not be scientists, but these already to be exposed to this can increase their hopes and inspiration and confidence. But I don't want to take the floor. I want the true specialists and participants to talk, and now we move to also to know a bit of our guests. So I will give the word to Rafael.
Thank you, Sofia, and I think you're completely right in the sense that, yeah, we use science as a vehicle, you know, not just for the kids to become scientists, but indeed to become whatever they want, feel more confident about it, and, you know, be more informed citizens as well with critical thinking. Yes. So I would like to start by asking a question to Ivo, one of our guests from Cartas Consciência. So Ivo, you're a science pen pal in Cartas, exchanging letters with a pupil from East Timor. So I just wanted to ask you, how has the experience been so far for you doing science outreach towards children? How was it, yeah, doing the training and exchanging letters with a pupil from another country?
So, hi everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So, just like you said, since the beginning of this academic year, I've been exchanging a couple of letters with this pupil from East Timor. Well, I cannot really tell how much the kid is actually enjoying my writing or the insights that I try to give, but he seems very enthusiastic on the letters that he writes, so I will assume that he's actually enjoying. But so I can only talk about this from my own perspective. And from the moment I heard about this project, I was very eager to participate, partly because I really enjoy writing, but also because I felt a sense of duty, since this project was going to include a group of schools from my home country. And I thought that this was a very rare opportunity for me to help while doing science. But I was also very apprehensive, because even though we might feel very comfortable about the, even though we might know a lot about our own areas of research in comparison to a middle schooler, for example, it's always very daunting to put ourselves in a position that has the potential to influence what a kid might do with his own future. So I always had this thought on the back of my mind that just a couple of sloppy comments and this kid might quit science altogether. And on top of that, I had no previous experience with any kind of science communication activities. But just like you said, before the project began, we had a very enlightening course in which we could really understand how to approach this task with various examples of what to do and what not to do. And because of that, the experience has been very smooth and very fulfilling. And let me also tell you that writing these letters is almost like traveling through time, because I do not interact with many kids or even teenagers on a daily basis. So in order to find the right voice in which to communicate in these letters, I have to force myself to go back in time and think about the things that I would like to have known. I would like to know if I had the opportunity when I was a kid. And I found this to be a very fun experience, a very fun exercise, and almost therapeutic.
Thank you so much, Ivo. Thank you for coming and sharing your experience. I like very much the part of being therapeutical. I think we can all profit from that. From our side, we would also try to disseminate this to other scientists to participate. And several of them had attended the training, and they were very excited how good the training was. So that helped you on how to communicate with the children. Now I also would like to ask Anna Katarina, who has been participating in Native Scientist for 6 years now. You started as a coordinator, and then your position evolved, and today you are the Impact Research Manager. Can you tell us what it means for you to be a native scientist and share key insights from your experience?
Hello, everyone, wherever you are. So yeah, as Sophia mentioned, my name is Anna Catarino, and I'm a marine biologist, and I work at the Flanders Marine Institute. So I'm based in Belgium, which is a trilingual country on its own, already connection with native, but I started to work with native when I was in Scotland. I came across native, just a little bit of background. I came across native because one of the founders, Tatiana, was featured in a newspaper in Portugal. And I read about native, and my personal connection with it was immediate. And I said, this is the outreach that I want to do. So as a young postdoc there, and it's part of our demands to communicate the scientists. And I thought that this was a project that would go beyond the traditional going to a science fair or having an organized visit to a school, which are obviously important, but native goes beyond that, and it connects with children, migrant children and migrant communities in a very special way. So that's how it started. I started organizing, I was at the time in Edinburgh, I started organizing activities with this Portuguese school, Lusofonias, which is also part of the Instituto Camões network. And native became really important to me on a professional level and on a personal level. And that was amazing because it was the basis of my social network. I got to know a lot of friends and colleagues, but also the training and the clever way that native evolved made me aware of a lot of interesting skills that I could also achieve. So through this work it was really important to also grow professionally. Yves was mentioning how important it is to him as well to simplify the message and to make it accessible to kids. And this is such an interesting exercise for researchers or for STEM professionals to simplify the message and to explain their work in a way that the public can understand. And with the children, it's even more challenging because we have to simplify it in a way that the kids can connect with our work. So I think that was also very, very important. And this role model, this role that we have as models, as STEM professionals, and showcase our work with the kids, it's also very, very interesting because we get an immediate reward, but also, as you mentioned, now I have a role that evolved within Native Scientists, and I'm coordinating the impact research. So it's a bit as a role, as a project manager role. So as I mentioned, Native Scientists is built in a very clever way, and we always have science behind, and we want to understand the impact that these interventions have with the kids, and to have measurable parameters that we can show that the impact is positive, and if not, where can we improve, or what other questions we can ask, or other hypotheses we can have to deepen our knowledge on these activities and the impact that it has on the kids. So yeah, that's my testimonial, and I'm happy to answer any questions that come up in the Q&A.
Thank you, Ana Catarina. I will turn now to Ana Rodrigues, also here with us. So Ana is finishing her PhD in biology and exchanging letters with Cartas Consciência with a student in São Tomé. But before starting this PhD, Ana has been a teacher for many years as well. So Ana, as someone with this inside perspective from both the scientists and the teachers, what did you think when you first heard about Cartas Consciência, and how has been your experience so far?
Hi, everyone. First, I want to tell a bit about myself. I was born in a small village on Fogo Islands in Cape Verde. At 16, I have to move to the capital to conclude my high school. And there I did my graduation in teaching. I worked there for 15 years. And then in 2015, I moved to Portugal to do my PhD. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you the lovely experience I am having in Cartas Consciências. Volunteer to be involved in this initiative was a very easy decision to take, because as soon as I saw the aim of the project, I told myself this is fit perfectly with my wishes, and I have to apply. Effectively, I start exchanging letter with a 9th grade student in São Tomé e Príncipe in the beginning of this year. And when I write, I put in shoes of the student, the teachers, and me, the scientist. As a student, I would like to be involved in a similar project, to have this privilege to exchange letters with scientists and to learn about the experience, the fields that they work. As a teacher, I also would like to be in front of a class with students involved in this experience, because it's amazing to see. I imagine that it's amazing to see the transformation of the students. This initiative has a great impact in the students' motivation, and we know that motivation leads to improve the performance, to improve the behavior, to reduce the school absenteeism, to improve the skills in writing and reading, also to improve the literacy. Not only the student literacy, but I think all the school community literacy, because when students have this kind of experience, even small activities, they share with colleagues in the whole school. I think it's changed also the literacy of the parents, the siblings, all the community. As a teacher, I would learn with the different experience that the student receive in the letters, and I would use it to fit in my lessons. Some aspect that I can use, I would use it for my lessons. I am also enjoying to be in this side as a scientist, because I have this opportunity to use a simple thing that is writing a letter with my life experience. I am not creating some difficult things and complex. I pick aspects of my life and try to inspire students with. Usually I try to include in the letters. I think is the most interesting thing for me is the exercise to try to integrate in the letter some topic in between the main topic, some aspects to intend for the personal development, such as commitment, resilience, and others, but without being like a recipe. I pick my life experience and I try to put in the letter in this clear way to show this, that we need students from non-privileged situation need to be resilient, but I show this with the experience. And I have the example for this round. I am writing about obstacles. I had faced a lot in my life experience that still until today. And I knew my correspondent student is a bit shy. I will explore this a lot, but without talking directly to her. I will use my experience as a shy student to explore and to show how I overcame the situation, how I face challenges to go further. And I hope I can do even a small change in the life of my correspondent.
Thank you, Anna. For sure, if we just make a small change in the life of one person can be already winning. And I completely agree with that. And we work at the JRC education is also one of the pillars and the things that we care about, education of science. Of course, the more that we work, the more we see how important it is, this one-to-one interaction, and this personal touch and this personal contact will make more different. Even if it's less mainstream, it can have more impact and be more powerful. So last but not least, we have with us also Maria de Lourdes, who is the leader and coordinator for the Switzerland of teaching of Portuguese as heritage language. And she's been very much involved and welcoming the projects like Cartas Consciências and Native Science. I would like to know what is the role, what role do you think these projects are playing in the education and lives of the students?
Hello, everybody. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for wanting to know how the experience has been done here so far. And to start talking about this project, I have to go back to July 2017, when I received an email from a scientist. She was in Switzerland, and she was volunteering to communicate science and to come to our classes to do something as you do. And I was thrilled with the idea. I answered her, and she came to my office, and we were building a project for the following school year. So this scientist is Marta Marialva. She is now with Native Scientist. I started working with her, with a volunteer as you, before really knowing Native Scientist. I only knew Native Scientist when I was in Tübingen, and I met Joanna, and then I told her, well, we have something that fits into Native Scientist. And I think it was really lucky for us that Native Scientist was there, because a project as Marta started on a volunteer basis in just one person, that wouldn't last and wouldn't be sustainable. So it is I am very, very happy that Native Scientist is there. So in 2 school years, Marta has worked with about 850 students here in Switzerland, and with the teachers. And I thought that this project would be very interesting and important for our students from the right beginning, with the same arguments that you have. It's that migrant children don't have such opportunities or the same opportunities in the school system as non-migrant children. Generally, migrant children, so Portuguese migrant children here, have low expectations, and also because their representations about scientists are from someone who is totally away from our daily life, and it's not someone who they can really write a letter to and communicate. So I thought this project would be very interesting for our students and our teachers as well, because our teachers would have the opportunity to deal with language within other topics and other lexicon that usually they do, because we talk about of course language and culture, but not science. So it would be something different. It would help motivation, as Anna said. It is very important that children are motivated to go to heritage language classes. And from the beginning, Marta and I have thought that we had to know how far the project would have an impact. And so we designed some questionnaires, both for pupils and for teachers. And we have, Marta has presented the results in a conference in 2018, and 2 texts have already been published, one in Portuguese and one in English, about the experience here in Switzerland. So I am really very happy that now we are integrated into Native Scientists, and we can go on and further explore and work together with the teachers to enlarge vocabulary, to widen the professional horizons of our pupils, and also to motivate teachers to explore other areas than just culture or language. As far as the Cartas Consciência are concerned, we only have 2 teachers working with them now. I don't think they have really understood the aim yet, because from what I talked with them and from what I have heard now, it is a bit different because one of the teachers who has already started the project, she taught the formal letter, and they wrote formal letters to the scientists. And from what I have heard now from Anna, this is totally the opposite of formal letters. This has to do with the personal letters, with getting to know personally and knowing the scientists in another, on a different level. So I think they have not quite yet understood the aim, but we will. And I support this completely because, as Joanna said in the beginning, it is very, very important for migrant children to understand they can have the same opportunities as all the other children who live in their countries. And I think I have answered. If not, I am also available for any other questions that may be posted or asked directly. Thank you.
Thank you, Lourdes. Thank you so much. And also to all our guests to have joined us today. We will now start, we will open now the questions from the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to mention that we will try to answer to all the questions. If not live, we will write the answers. And I will give priority to a question that is for our guests. And it's directed to Anna and Ivo, who've been exchanging letters. And so the question is, in case you have exchanged more than one letter with your students, do you see any differences in the students throughout the school year, if you compare the first letters with the latest ones, for example? So I think you both, yeah. So I'll let you reply.
Okay. Can I go? Well, I've only exchanged two letters, I think. I think it's a little bit premature to talk about the difference, but I noticed that on the second letter, the student was more, perhaps more comfortable in asking more questions. He was more curious, and that's perhaps the biggest difference that I've noticed. And
I think the same. I am writing the second letter. I received the second. I think my correspondent asked more in this one, but it's too early to do a comparison.
Thank you. So now I will pick a question from Frank, which I think it's maybe our younger follower at this moment, and he wanted to know from what age can we contribute to Cartas Consciência. He's a teenager, and he would like to know if he, for instance, could, even if not yet a scientist, if he could also contribute somehow.
So for scientists, for our scientist correspondents, they need to have done research or in the past or be doing research. So we usually take up scientists from so people from bachelor's level upwards. In the case of bachelor students who are already involved in research projects. So in the case of a teenager, you would have to participate through your school. Maybe if you speak, if you're Portuguese speaking, maybe your teacher could sign up in our website and see if we could exchange letters with your class as well. We work with classes or groups from associations at the same time. We don't work with pupils that sign up individually, but in our website you can see several resources that we made for pupils whose teachers didn't sign up and who didn't have yet the opportunity to exchange letters, where scientists answer a question from different children that we collected. Ivo, for example, has a video there explaining about stars and how stars are formed. And yes, if you see in our website that I posted in the chat, you could find some of these resources and in our YouTube channel as well.
I think Frank wanted to participate from the other side, even though he's still not a scientist, if he could write to these children as well. I think the question was that, but that was very useful information as well, I think.
Yes,
for
our
any
children
wanting.
Sorry, go ahead. Our children, in fact, are from 10 years old to 18. So if you're a teenager, you are still part of that group. So it's not possible to be on the other side.
Not yet, but when you become a scientist, Frank, yeah, do get in touch with us and native scientists. We have one more question that is targeted to both projects, but I will ask it to Joana first. And the question from Sandra Caldeira is whether your exchanges with schools are institutionalized, and if you have agreements with schools and you keep working with the same schools or not. So how does this all work?
Yeah. It depends a little bit on who is the partner institution to access the children. It can be a school, it can be a cultural institute like Camões Institute. Lourdes here is representing the coordination of Portuguese education in Switzerland belonging to Camões Institute. And when it's the cultural institution, we partner on a more long-term basis. When it's a school, it depends. We can go there several times or not. But our program, on the contrary to Cartas, is a one-off program. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So imagine in a primary school, if we go to kids when they are 9 years old or 8 years old, our scientists participate in the workshop with those kids, and this interaction only happens once. Then scientists can go to another workshop to talk to other children. So our program is not like a school year program. Unlike Cartas, although Cartas also has a program that is a one-letter exchange, but I'll let Cartas talk about it.
In our case, we work two ways. I will mention our main projects that are lasting a school year. We work with two kinds of groups. One of them is the teachers that form, so in formal education and classes, teachers sign up and we work with the whole class together of that teacher, but we also work with associations. So we're exchanging letters in Portugal now with the Association Tiram da Rua, Odivelas, and they have pupils from 13 to 17. and they give support to their studies, and they do capoeira sport with them as well. And we work with these groups as well, all the group together. And in September, as when Rafael mentioned the classes about September, we will actually be partnering with several associations. In Mozambique, we are working with a group of girls from Girl Move, for example. We also will collaborate with the Lisbon Project that helps refugees in Lisbon, Association Educar in Cabo Verde, and Association Adescom in Guinea-Bissau. So we will actually be working with associations a lot in the future as well. And as Joanna mentioned, we also have a program of just one letter exchange, the one where Maria de Lourdes teachers are participating, to also give the chance of students not in the official Portuguese speaking countries outside of their countries to participate as well. And just quickly referencing to what Maria de Lourdes commented, it's in fact some teachers use also this opportunity of the letter, although the idea is for it to be informal and personalized, to also teach the children how to write a letter. And in fact, in our class in Timor, for example, it was a multi-teacher a coordination where the Portuguese teacher was teaching them how to write a letter, the scientist teacher checking the content, and the scientist the science behind it. So it's a bit a mix of both, because for the Portuguese language literacy, the learning how to write a formal letter and a physical letter, it's also important. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I also have a question myself. So as scientists, we know we are not used to be the most popular kid in the block. Sorry, do you want to, before I raise my question, Maria de Lourdes, I see you raise your hand. Do you want to say something? Yes.
I just wanted to do a comment on, but go on, I'll wait.
So as I was saying, as scientists, we are not used to be the most popular kid in the block. Science, it's not the most popular thing or the coolest job, but still, at least not before the pandemic. Now maybe things are changing, but seeing these type of projects, I would think it would be really inspiring, and so that anyone would be open to be part of it. And then I saw this statement that Joanna showed in her presentation, that parents didn't want at the beginning that the kids would meet the scientists. And I was wondering if you have any other type of negative feedbacks, and why. For me, when I saw that, I was struggling why they would not like, before even to know what was about, that they would meet the scientists. So it's a general question to Joanna, of course, because of this statement, but if the others also want to share any kind of not so good feedback.
So in terms, after the workshop, the feedback is generally good. But what we have seen is that, I mean, this happens, we as scientists are not aware and maybe don't remember this as often as we should, but actually, you know, there are lots of beliefs and attitudes towards science in society. You know, there are person X who thinks the science is controlled by the rich, and therefore it's not a good thing. There is person Y that maybe thinks, doesn't see where science is in everyday life, and therefore doesn't think about it very much, and doesn't have time to think about it because it's so concerned about paying the mortgage or something like that. Then you have people that actually think that scientists are, you know, like an elite and unapproachable, and they, or maybe they are too intelligent and too genius to be approachable. And so there are lots of attitudes, and some, like, there are even people that think science is bad. So when we are targeting underserved populations or underprivileged populations, it's common to find people that are very, very far away from science and scientists, and therefore, because it's completely out of their comfort zone, they kind of want to neglect it or hide it and not be close to it. Like when I grew up, I was quite far away from science actually. And my parents owned a restaurant and a cafe. And when I fall in love with bacteria at the age of 9, when I learned about bacteria in school, and I came home and said, I want to be a scientist and I want to study the living organisms that we don't see. You know, my parents spent all the rest of my years in school until I was 18 saying, you're crazy, you should not do science, you should either, you know, build your own restaurant or go and do economy. And, you know, this happens. And that's why our work is important, just to show people that actually you can be anything you want to be if you feel passionate about it.
May I also add something to this?
Yes, please.
Just adding something to what Joanna mentioned, I also think that scientists or STEM professionals have a very important role, as I also mentioned before, in the communication of science. And we need to reach all communities in a similar way, but the message cannot always be the same. And this is what is very challenging to us, because also the training that we get is usually more focused on the science and not so much on the communication part. And I think there's so much debate nowadays about literacy, science literacy, uncertainty in science. How do we communicate on that? We not always know everything. And I also think that the work of Native is important to approach not only the children, but also the parents and the teachers and the brothers and the cousins and everyone in the community, because we are responsible to have our message go across and reach the people. It's very challenging. In fact, it's not an easy task.
Just picking up on that, if I may, science communication is so far away from the daily life of a scientist that sometimes we don't even explain to our grandparents or even parents exactly what we do, because it's so hard for us to find those words. Then we just say, oh, like you wouldn't understand, or you avoid the conversation of actually explaining to your grandfather or grandmother what you are actually doing, because it's such a stretch for us to find the simple language. And what we've seen with Native scientists is actually, it's also that we are actually also changing the scientists and their attitudes towards science outreach, because they have this extra motivation to dedicate some thought and hours to simplifying the language, because they're going to participate in this special workshop going into a school. They live abroad, so they're going into a school in a foreign country. They will also discover how the education system works there. And so there is this extra motivation to do it. And once they nail that and are able to communicate it to a child, then the next summer when they are actually home, it's actually not so difficult anymore to explain it to the grandmother or the grandfather. But yeah.
Yeah, it's a huge discussion about science communication and how much scientists should be taught on how to do it, or should be specific people to do it. But what Anna Katarina was saying is, I think it's also something that Ana Rodrigues was saying, so that when you speak to these children, you don't even only motivate them, but you also create little ambassadors of science, and they for sure they will know how to use the simple language to talk to their parents, to their grandparents, and to their relatives. And this has been proved already, for instance, for more on environmental way of thinking, also to teach. It was that several kids that were taught at school on how to recycle, they managed to implement it in their own places. So this is really some seeds that you're putting. But I wanted to give the word to Maria Lourdes because she wanted to talk as well.
Okay, well, it's okay. Thank you. I just wanted to add two things. One is linked to what you have been talking about, sharing science and communicating science. And I think teachers have a role in this and can help you, because they know that their pupils, they know the subjects they are have to explain and to debate and develop, and they can easily integrate what you are bringing into class and further develop. So it is a joint work, and if you collaborate with teachers who welcome you in their classes, it's not only the day of the workshop, it is the day, all the preparation that involves the family as well, and then what comes after it. Because just one day, it's just one day like folklore. And that I compared these a bit with the intercultural competence. And when we do want to work on interculturality, it's not just one day, and it's not just saying, "Oh, this is beautiful, and here is this tradition, and this is not our tradition. This is different, but related." And we do just a class, and it can't be like that if we want it to be sustainable. So teachers, what I saw with the work of Marta here is that when you collaborate with teachers, when you start by preparing everything previously, and these booklets that you produced, these are really wonderful. And we started with this. So it is something that we can together build on and have a greater impact. As for families, we also see here in Switzerland that not only with the activities with native scientists, but any other kind of projects that sometimes don't focus immediately or don't seem to focus on language, then parents think that the pupils are not learning Portuguese. And that is not true. And we have to also fight against these beliefs and representations of what school is or should be that parents bring along. And also they are a kind of used to in the regular school system. So we have to fight, and we have to find a balance between all those things. So it is really a very important work, and if we work together, it is of course much better. And the second note was about the cartas with science. Being today in a digital world where we don't have to really send letters, we can send an email. I think it is really important to write letters in paper, perhaps handwriting, and delivering them. I enjoy doing it. I have always done it. And I write postcards to my friends and to my family, and letters as well. And sometimes I am just looked at as if I only belong to the previous century. But I think it is important because it is something that it's an activity we engage in. It is different, and it is much more meaningful. So I think it is a very good project, and I am really thrilled to be able to work with both of them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lourdes. Indeed, yeah. The letters might seem a bit old-fashioned, but indeed, because of that, they also make the experience more memorable, right? For everyone involved. Yeah. We have one more question. I would just add something before asking the question, and coming back to Sophia's question about the reluctance perhaps of some people in accepting the programs. And it's definitely, related to the fact that these underserved communities, as Joanna was mentioning, are sometimes a bit detached. It's also natural that they might be more suspicious initially about such initiatives, and so it did happen to us with one of our classrooms that, the parents of the kids were not immediately prone on authorizing the kids to participate. And so what we did was to prepare a video to explain the program, what it was about, and after the parents watched the video, then everyone signed up, and everything was fine. So sometimes, also just to leave the message that, it's really important also from our side to communicate well to these communities what is exactly that we are trying to do and why. Yeah.
Raphael, can I just add something quickly? Also to realize that in different contexts, you cannot just be using the formulas that you cannot expect to reach these people if you are not adapting to the context. And in our case, that we are in 9 different countries, that is something that, we take very seriously to try to personalize. Yes,
definitely. Thank you. So, Anna and Ivo, do you have any funny stories or memorable stories from the letters you received from your pen pals? Maybe Anna, I will give you the word first.
Not really, because I would like to receive longer letter because my students doesn't write a lot about her and her experience, but only a few questions. In this last one, I asked before about if I am going to São Tomé, where I should visit. She replied me, but with small words, just indicating some locals that I don't know. I want to ask her in this letter to describe me more about these locals, to see if I really want to go there, because I would want to put her writing more, and I don't have some interesting things in her letter.
Thank you, Anna. Ivo, do you have?
Well, I think the aspects that are more interesting or perhaps funny are the questions that appear to me as silly or very simple, because when you first read it, it seems very simple, but when you actually try to explain, you realize that it's very complicated and you don't even know the answer. And it's really hard to, or perhaps you know the answer, but the correct answer is never really satisfying. It's never something like, because of that, there is also, because of that, if you assume this and that's not a very interesting answer to give to a child. And I found those moments as the most interesting.
Thank you so much. We are approaching the end of our webinar. I'm still surprised how these things go so fast each time that we do it. It was really a pleasure to have you here and to hear from you. So I invite all the people that are following here or in our YouTube channel to consult the pages of Cartas and Native Scientists. Don't forget the fundraising that we are doing for Cartas. We decided to prolong a bit more. So to try to collaborate or to be inspired by these projects. We for sure have been And at our semester, even not very consciously, we tried to also share and to contact with children, because of course we are parents and we are scientists that also contact with children from schools abroad. And just today, one of the Portuguese teachers from our community, she launched a series of, she launched 3 videos that I'm going to share here in the chat, which are 3 Portuguese traditional stories read by her in Portuguese, but being aware that not everyone can understand Portuguese, she put her students to give an introduction first in Italian and then in English, and she also involved the students on these traditional stories. And also during our semester, and with the theme of biodiversity, because we also had a contact of Portuguese in the journal Frontiers for Young Minds. So for the ones that don't know the project, it's a journal from Frontiers, who is a scientific journal, and they have this specific journal for children, and it's not only done for children but also by children. So the scientists need to submit a paper, a study, written in a way that will be understood by children, and the reviewers are the children. So they make the questions in order to be improved, so the paper can be improved before being published. And so we prepared a video about this experience. We had 3 scientists in the area of biodiversity working as a coach for 3 different classes from the European School of Varese, and helping them to review these papers. And we had the best feedback both from them and from the teachers on how much they have learned. And now the teachers want to repeat this process, because as Lourdes was saying, teaching is not only about the curriculum, it's also exposing the children to different experience in the way that they learn. So I'm going now to share my screen, and we will finalize this webinar with this video. Thank you so much for coming. Please follow our website on the follow activities we are today entering in the last month of our semester, and I hope you are enjoying it. So here it is. Thank you again to all our speakers and for being here today.
Of all living forms on Earth, and its protection is key to our lives. The JRC contributes to preserve this tremendous treasure, not only with the diversity of organisms we find in its sites, but especially with knowledge and tools to support biodiversity conservation.
I am Grégoire Dubois, responsible for the new Knowledge Center for Biodiversity of the European Commission. The Knowledge Center for Biodiversity has been set up to support the biodiversity strategy of the European Union, mainly by tracking progress of the implementation of the strategy and by supporting the management of a complex knowledge on species and ecosystems, on drivers of biodiversity loss, and on associated policies. The Digital Observatory for Protected Areas, documenting more than 100,000 protected areas worldwide, is an example of our work integrating a large variety of data on biodiversity, near real-time observation from satellites, and information on pressures to support European policies.
Educating and empowering the next generations to take action in protecting our planet is key.
Hello, as JRC's Primus coordinator, I contribute to lowering our environmental footprint yearly. For me, working in such a beautiful site is inspiring. We have 6 different habitats recognized by the Habitat Directive on site, and we also have some protected species, including the Italian agile frog, which you're listening to just now. What I want to tell you is that what we do here goes beyond our site. We collaborate with the province of Varese under the umbrella of the Green School project. This counts the participation of 311 schools. Green School students organize work, they measure it, they investigate for improvements, and they share these with the Green School community.
We wanted to contribute our share as well.
Hi, my name is Pedro Moraes and I'm a marine biologist from Portugal. I am also the Biodiversity Specialty Chief Editor of the journal Frontiers for Young Minds. The journal publishes science articles about many topics from astronomy to biodiversity. The articles are written by scientists and are revised by children from all over the world. My role is to make sure that each single paper sparks joy and curiosity among the journal's young readers about the species we share our planet with. After all, we can only protect what we know, and as Jacques Cousteau would say, people only protect what they love.
Portuguese scientists supported classes from the European School in the revision of scientific papers.
I really enjoyed learning about the Black Sea jellyfish and all the amazing facts about it.
I really liked reviewing the article and found the topic very interesting.
It's interesting how they got from the Black Sea all the way to the San Francisco estuary.
The thing I found most interesting about the Black Sea jellyfish is how the population is rising in the new homes in San Francisco estuary.
It's very interesting how they swim upside down.
I thought that the scientific method was fascinating because I didn't know that scientists always take these steps when experimenting.
Learning how nature works can help to shape a better future.